Hello, people viewing this recording. This is the Disability Welcome Event and Involvement Fair presented by SLDS and B4A. We will now get started. Next. Is that good for you, Saran, if I just say next?
Yeah, in theory, I should eventually start figuring out when you are ready to go to the next slide, but okay. For the first half of the presentation.
And here is our beautiful presentation slide. Next. So our presenters today, hi, I'm Code Beschler. My pronouns are he, they. I am a white, genderqueer femme person with neon hair. It's kind of faded right now, pink and green. Currently wearing glasses. I have some makeup on. I am B4A's treasurer, and I am a neurodivergent wheelchair user. Probably see me around campus. I do disability advocacy work, mostly in museums, on campus, and within public health advocacy spaces.
I'm Saran Lendzian. I use they, them pronouns. I've been an officer of Buckeyes for Accessibility it's gonna be my 5th year this year being a member of Buckeyes for Accessibility and my 4th year being an officer. So over the years, I've done a lot of different organizational things for the org, as well as technology stuff, which, is why you would think I could operate Zoom better considering I'm a computer science major, but, it is what it is. But I am a white, non-binary individual with glasses and somewhat curly hair put into a ponytail with a bang. I'm wearing a red shirt over a gray shirt and have a Star of David necklace. And I am excited to meet you all.
Hi, I'm Ella Neruda. My pronouns are she, her. I am a 25-year-old woman with fair skin, brown hair, tortoiseshell glasses, a pair of noise-canceling headphones, and a blue dress. I am autistic, ADHD, and disabled, and I'm a bachelor's of social work student minoring in disability studies. I started my social work field placement at the Nysanger Center this year, supporting college students who are autistic and at OSU. I am also a B4A officer focusing on disability advocacy and empowerment, and I'm going to be monitoring the chat during the event. And if you would like your questions read aloud, you can type the word voice at the beginning of your comment, and I would be happy to read it. I won't read your name aloud unless you specifically request that your name be read. It's very nice to see you all and have you all here today.
Alrighty, next. I wanted to start today with it's an access invocation, which is basically a recognition of the access needs that may or may not be being met by people within this group right now. Please use our meeting space in whatever way feels most accessible to you. This could be stimming, sitting, standing, laying down, having a nap, working on a project, or just about anything else. If you have questions, you can ask them aloud or type them in the chat. You can have your camera on or off and can leave or enter the Zoom meeting as it feels comfortable. You can reach out to Ella or B4A monitor if you have an access request. We will do whatever we can to accommodate it. Interact with the event as much or as little as you would like. Basically, we want you to feel comfortable here. Next. We also have a land acknowledgement. We want to acknowledge the land that the Ohio State University occupies. It includes the ancestral and contemporary territories of the Shawnee, Potawatomi, Delaware, Miami, Peoria, Seneca, Wyandot, Ojibwe, and Cherokee peoples. We honor the resiliency of these tribal nations and recognize the historical contexts that have and continue to affect these groups. We also have a land acknowledgement in the materials that were sent out earlier with some links to help you understand why land acknowledgements are important and what we can do beyond land acknowledgements. Next. We also have a content warning. So this presentation and dialogue contains themes of oppressive systems, discrimination, ableism, and harmful internalized beliefs. We know many in our community have and continue to live through these hardships and/or have watched those closest to us experience them. Please do what you need to do to prioritize your well-being, and we will do our best to support you. Next. So who are we? We're Buckeyes for Accessibility. We also are called B4A, so if you hear us say that throughout, that's what we're referring to. We're a group of disabled students, faculty, staff, alumni, university friends, and allies with an array of backgrounds who value accessibility, inclusion, and supporting one another. We actually have a very long history here, which we'll go into in a little bit. But this is a brief overview of who we are. Next slide. What we do. Our focuses have shifted throughout time based on the needs of our members. So right now, here's what we're focusing on. We work with OSU administration to improve their accessibility resources and policies. We create our own access resources to help disabled community members. We hold weekly meetings to educate on and discuss topics surrounding accessibility and disability. We hold accessible public community building events, and we host active group chats where disabled students can share experiences, make friends, and get advice and support. If you want to learn more about what we do, we actually have a website that lists some of our previous projects, our current projects, stuff that we like to work on. We have an access map on our page that I like to plug whenever possible. So if you want to know some accessible routes around campus, please look on there. That's on our webpage. Yeah, come to a meeting if you're interested. Next slide. I put together a brief disability history here at OSU. It's read aloud in kind of a timeline format with major events that have happened throughout time. There's a lot more, but it starts in roughly the 1970s. So in 1972, the Ohio State Senior Class Committee raised $75,000 to make the campus more physically accessible. In 1974, the Office for the Physically Impaired, now called SLDS, was established and Creative Living was founded. This was basically more accessible housing for disabled students, which previously wasn't really available. In 1984, disability services were established on regional campuses. So while Columbus SLDS was formed in 1974, in 1984, it was founded on the regional campuses. I also wanted to mention that SLDS just had their 50th anniversary, and we have SLDS with us here today. In 1993, Students for Disability Awareness, also called SDA, was founded, and they hosted the first Disability Awareness Day at OSU. Next slide. In 1995, a 200-page disability task force report was developed to document the inaccessibility across campus. The university never officially released this document, kind of trying to track it down right now, but I think that this is a huge step for advocacy between students, faculty members, staff, to try to document some of the inaccessibility on campus and try to move forward with it. In 2000, 10 years after the passing of the ADA, OSU becomes the last of the Big Ten schools to hire an ADA coordinator. His name is Scott Beschler. He's still the ADA coordinator to this day. I highly recommend you familiarize yourself with him and his office. He's a great resource. There's a bunch of stuff that you can look at on the website to learn more about what he does. In 2020, SDA was renamed to Buckeyes for Accessibility, us here today. Other names have included Unity and Ability. So if you see historical documents with those names on it, referring to us. And today, several other disability-focused student orgs continue to add to this long history of disability advocacy at OSU, and you'll meet some of them here today. You can look on the Student Life website and see probably even more, and I'm hoping more come about in the future. Next. This is a student story highlight that's talked about in a few different disability history pages, SLDS's page and OSU Library Archives. So on this picture is a photo of who I'll talk about in a second, Julie Rogers. She is a light-skinned woman with short dark hair. She's wearing a button-up shirt and a blazer, and she's sitting in her wheelchair. Some students, like Julie Cochran Rogers, graduated from OSU despite ableism and the university's inaccessibility. During her time in Columbus, members of the Delta Chi fraternity carried her and her wheelchair up multiple flights of stairs to classrooms in Derby Hall, which did not have an elevator at the time. She went on to become a speech pathologist at OSU, where she worked with and advocated for dyslexic students before dyslexia was even widely recognized as a learning disability. Next slide. This is a short disclaimer, and I'll explain in a second. So while doing research on Julie, I actually stumbled across some ableist statements she had made regarding other disabled students and accessibility across campus. Feels important to mention them here. On this slide, there is a screenshot of a Lantern article, and I'll read it aloud now. Content warning for some ableist words. Complaints about OPI services are unfounded, according to Julie Rogers, Dodd Hall speech pathologist and clinical instructor of physical medicine. She said blind people who have complained are too demanding and unreasonable. So I add this here because our history should be celebrated and critiqued. Internalized ableism is very real and will be discussed later in this presentation. As we do our activism work here at OSU, we must keep this in mind. We must do work for all disabled folks and other marginalized groups. We are not and should not be exempt from criticism. History is complicated, and this history should not be erased either. We have a couple orgs with us today that have their own focuses, and that's wonderful. As we're focusing on those specific things that we're interested in, we should make sure that we're not diminishing or disrupting other disabled students and groups on campus. Next slide. This is an article that actually Ella requested that we have here. It's very long, so I'm only going to give a brief overview of it. Again, on this screen, there is a screenshot of a Lantern newspaper article that was taken from the university archives. There is an article that I will summarize in a second. And then off to the side, there is a picture of a student putting up a sign that says, "Students with disabilities protest transportation for all." Underneath, it says, "Belinda Spinosi, spokeswoman and treasurer of Students for Disability Awareness, hangs a sign for the group in front of Bricker Hall on Thursday." And then I will read a summarization. You can read more about this. We actually have a link to it on our history page on our website. So, university concedes van to disability group. About 25 to 30 students and representatives of Students for Disability Awareness protested outside Bricker Hall Thursday. Representatives of the disability group claim that disabled students do not have equal access to the CODA services that they're required to pay for. In response to the group's demands, the university will run on a trial basis a Saturday handy van, a service that provides transportation to disabled students within a 2-mile radius of campus. Cuts off a little bit at the end there, my apologies. And so this is the beginnings of paratransit, which happened circa 1999. Many changes have happened since then. We now have expansion to the weekends, the other things that have made paratransit what we know and sometimes love today. So that's just sort of a brief overview and some of an example of what activism can do and provide for students here. Next slide. And now I will give a brief overview about what it means to have a disability. Next slide. So there's a couple different ways that we can understand it. It's having a condition that, in the legal sense, limits one or more major life activities or bodily functions. And in the medical sense, it affects how we perform and participate in our daily activities. Next slide. Socially, it's existing outside of cultural norms with unequal access to environments not built for us. And next slide. And as a cultural identity, which is what we tend in B4A tend to sort of think about disability, it's human variation, experiencing or navigating life in a way that falls on a diverse community spectrum outside of the cultural default. Next slide. Who's in the disability community? Wide range of people. Basically, anybody that identifies that as disabled, anybody that comes to identify as disabled, but here's a brief list. Anybody with a mental health diagnosis, a chronic health diagnosis, or SPOONY, neurodiversity, physical or mobility disability, blind, low vision, or visually impaired, deaf and hard of hearing, and people still figuring it out. When I first joined B4A, I did not claim the disabled identity, and then slowly grew to claim it and embrace it, and I think a lot of people within the group feel the same way. Next slide. And then I will pass it on to Saran.
Thank you, Code. So one of the reasons that community is so important is because the support that we provide each other and the steps forward that we can take when working together is some of our best defense against the issues that disabled people face. So it's pertinent that today we discuss ableism. Ableism is discrimination and prejudice based on the belief that being able-bodied, neurotypical, or non-disabled is ideal, preferred, or the default. Paraphrased from T.A. Lewis's working definition, ableism is systemic oppression caused by a society placing value on bodies and minds based off how it defines normal, intelligent, desirable, and productive, deeply rooted in anti-Blackness, eugenics, misogyny, colonialism, and capitalism. The disability community is very broad, encapsulating a lot of different marginalized groups, and people from different marginalized groups are more likely to be disabled from the stress of being discriminated against, as well as lack of access to resources. So ableism is very intersectional in that regard, in that you have a lot of that overlap, and that overlap can in itself form its own form of discrimination. But also, like, these ideas themselves come from these structures around us that are, racist and colonialist. For example, like, speaking English really well is seen as intelligent, and this is, rooted in, and this is ableist because there's, disabilities that make it difficult for people to understand English as well and speak as well, but also someone who grew up speaking a different language is also less likely to speak English as well. And so in this way, these structures that are racist and colonialist are like are kind of interlapping with that ableism. And not only that, but like the fact that these ideas of what you should be are so that way you can be productive, are in this like kind of, or so that way you can be productive in this capitalist society that we are in. So these structures are all around us, so they affect not only the ways that other people think about us, but also the ways that we think about ourselves. Which brings us to our next topic, internalized ableism, which is when disabled people project negative feelings and beliefs about disability onto themselves or other disabled people, leading to shame and refusal of accommodations and support. So one of our previous presidents put together this little internalized ableism bingo card a little bit ago. So I'm going to go ahead and read through this, and we can see how many of us will get bingo in terms of thoughts that we've had about ourselves and about disability. Apologies, I'm going to read this kind of quickly for time reasons, but it is all on the slide. Okay, but what if I'm faking it? New symptoms, not going to the doctors, doing the thing and having to recover for days. I'm not letting my illness stop me, not asking for help. Other people have it worse, not wanting to be a burden. Oh, I'm fine, is an agony. This is totally normal. I'm not disabled enough, not wanting to say you're disabled. I'm taking this from someone who really needs it. Free space. Not taking simple precautions. Today is just an off day. I'm sure it's nothing. Smiling through the pain for others' sake. I'm not defined by my life-changing diagnosis. Tries to push through the pain. Sure, I can do that. Not mentioning something's bad for you. I'm just lazy. Feeling guilty for feeling bad. I'm not really disabled. I'm just being dramatic. And these thoughts, these aspects of internalized ableism, they're not just thoughts, they lead us to avoid accessing resources and accommodations that we need and separate us from our community and each other through these negative associations with our connection to the disability community. The thing is, we deserve so much more than this. We have the right to accommodations. We deserve a community, and we should get to view being disabled as something to be proud of. Even when we feel otherwise, when we feel like we aren't disabled enough or should just push through, when we are not sure where in the disability community that we fit, we should still have access to support from each other and from our institutions. Which is why next I'm going to pass this off to Ella to introduce us to the disability accommodations that are available here at Ohio State.
Thank you, Saran. So what I wanted to highlight most here is with accommodations, everybody is different. And just because someone has the same disability as you doesn't mean they need the same accommodations. And people who have the same accommodations could have very different disabilities. So what we did here is we took some of our officers and listed their different accommodations to give you some examples, not the full list, of the different services that OSU specifically can provide. So these are more academic in nature. So our officer Julia has extended time, lecture slides, PDF readings, and computer note taking. Saran has extended time and spaced exams, lecture slides, breaks, and an intermittent flex plan. Code has attendance deadline modification, intermittent flex plan, and paratransit. And I, Ella, have caption videos and CART, text to speech, speech to text, and note taking support. And if you look closely, you might think it's a little odd that I have caption videos and carts and also have something text to speech that would read something out loud. But the thing is accommodations don't always make sense. And that's okay if they work for you. For me, I have ADHD and auditory processing disorder. So I have a hard time understanding what things are being said, but to focus, I need as much input as possible. So having it both visually and out loud is what works for best for me. And in the past, I wouldn't have requested that because that sounds weird. That sounds like it doesn't make any sense. But once I started doing it on my own, I said, wait, this works super well. So it's so important that we get the accommodations we need, even if they might look odd to others or people don't understand why. And you have the right to them, and you don't have to explain yourself if you don't want to. The professors just need to know that that is an accommodation you're entitled for. So that's why I wanted to highlight all the different ones we have and sometimes the seeming discrepancies between accommodations people might have. And next, speaking of accommodations, I would love to introduce the Director of Student Life Disability Services, Dr. Cheryl Lyons.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation and for the invitation to spend a little bit of time with you all this evening. I decided to forego some formal slides for a few reasons. It is really important for me to spend some time hearing from you about things that you want to know about SLDS, so feel free to put those in the chat or raise your hand or your virtual hand, and I'll be happy to take those. And while you're thinking of those, I will give a little bit of a brief overview of our office. Our office has a very comprehensive website, and so I invite you to check that out if you have not already. And even if you're already, like some of these veteran folks within the community, already well established with our office, there still may be more to learn. So let me back up and say that for those who may also benefit from some further description. As you had mentioned, my name is Dr. Cheryl Lyons, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. I identify as a person with a disability. I have been at Ohio State for about 25 years. I'm an alumni from my doctorate. I'm currently an instructor, and I've been a staff member, and a student. So I've gotten to do all the Buckeye things, which is very exciting. And I've been working in the SLDS office for about 5 years. I'm a middle-aged white woman with curly brown and gray hair, and I'm super excited to spend some time with you all. So let me give you a few highlights, and I'm also going to put their thank you code. I was just about to put that in the chat, the website in the chat. Let me give you a few highlights about what's going on with Student Life Disability Services. So our office is a part of Student Life, which has about 40 different offices all around campus. And some of those offices are very forward-facing, like counseling and consultation, student wellness, the rec center, the dining halls, the union. And a lot of them are also behind the scenes and very operational. And some are in between. And I would say that ours is in between. We're very much a complex operation with the goal of ensuring that students who need access to their campus experience, both inside and outside of the classroom, have those accommodations and modifications so that they're able to fully engage in their community, right? And our office is given these responsibilities from the policy related to persons with disabilities on our campus. So as some of you mentioned, the ADA coordinator's office and Scott Listener, we work very closely with Scott because his office and the policy that is owned by his office delegates student accommodation to SLDS. But they also then delegate staff accommodations to human resources, and they delegate and work with faculty for their accommodations. And they also look out for visitors at the football games or here for events. So we work hand in hand, and a lot of times someone may call us for something and we may say, hey, buddy Scott, you need to get on those snow plows, right? So a lot of the physical access and working with the facilities we partner with the ADA coordinator's office. But when it comes to the services that we provide, we focus on students of all levels, even folks coming in taking credit from high school all the way to program 60 students who are 60 plus, graduate, professional students studying abroad. And we also work closely with our regional campus friends. So when students are changing campuses, although we don't supervise those offices, we do partner and meet with them very regularly and work to try to promote that seamless transition for students who are changing campuses. So I recently got an update on the number of students that were affiliated with SLDS last year. And I had been saying all last spring that we were up around 7,500. And I just got told that it is up about 8,100. So again, this is a really big community, and these are only the students who choose to affiliate, right? Because many choose not to, decide that they don't need our support, whatnot, or decide to go it alone and decide to come later in their college experience for accommodations, right? So the other exciting update that I wanted to share about SLDS is that this past month in August, we were given funding to add 3 new access specialists. So we now have 11 access specialists in our office to help serve and support and work alongside students, which is really exciting. And we've also been given grant money to add another professional in exam services, which we hope to announce and have that person start later this month. So not only are our student numbers growing, but we're very excited that Student Life is helping us grow our staff to try to continue to meet the needs of our office. Now, one of the things that I hear from students is, how in the heck do I get SLDS's attention? I need help. So if you're already affiliated and registered and you have a new need or an emerging need or a problem, you can just email and contact your assigned access specialist. And we are this week, and we're rolling out, you may have gotten it or they're coming soon, because we have all this new staff, a recalibration of who's working with who, because they're assigned and grouped by college majors. So if your major changed or your person left, then you may have gotten an email that you have a new person to work with. If you are trying to get in the door and get registered or affiliated with our office, then you would start with an application from our website, fill out that brief form, give us a little bit of documentation, which is typically paperwork you already have. People get really stressed about that. Usually you already have something that says, hey, I got accommodations at my last college, at my last high school. I have this diagnosis or that. I have this psychological condition or that my counselor is working with me on. And if we need more, we'll let you know. So don't stress if you don't think you have the right thing. And once we look at your application and make sure that we have some level of documentation, and this is important because in this day and age, unfortunately, there are some folks who will try to use the system for their advantage when they don't truly need an accommodation. We will then invite you to finish your registration process by completing a welcome meeting with one of our staff. Yes, let's go ahead with the question.
I was just sorry.
Go ahead.
What is the new caseload number of access specialists? Great question. So before we got our new people, they were pushing for some of us over 1,000, and now they're down to about 800. So to 1, which sounds still very large, and we'd like them to be smaller, but many students, once they get established with us, rarely need their access specialist. They can log on to the system, send their letters to their faculty of choice, schedule their exams if they have that accommodation, come and go and do those, use their flex plans with their faculty. And so we try to build a lot of systems to be self-driven so that what the staff are there for are the students who have new and emerging concerns with their faculty or with their own well-being. And so we can help navigate those processes for them. Great question. So if you have a new and emerging, like very emergent need, you should call. Because while you can email your access specialist, you often may get a response like, hey, we'll get back to you in 2 to 3 days. That can be annoying, and they're working through their emails in the order received because they don't want to miss anyone. If they answer their email like I do and like you might and skip around, there might be a really important email in there from someone who needs help that they miss. So they're very methodical about how they do that. So call if you're able to talk with us or stop by and visit with one of the access specialists during drop-in hours. You can also email the main inbox, but know that the administrative staff answer that, not access specialists. So they'll often have to forward those emails on to an access specialist. What other questions do people have? Myths that they've heard, things going around campus that I could admit to or deny. Well, I'll keep sharing a few other things while you think. Other things I wanted to share, and thank you so much for that history presentation, because while we've been doing a lot of history research ourselves, because this is our 50th anniversary year, we don't have a date that we can find in the history books. If you find one, let me know. But we know that there was a specific Board of Trustees meeting and, you know, the new staff in the office being created around the beginning of that year, 50 years ago. And so we've done a couple of events this past spring, and we think that some of the staff may also be in the homecoming parade. The other thing that we're going to do is we did a faculty reception in the spring. We had a luncheon to celebrate at the Multiple Perspectives ADA conference in the spring. And we are working with the development fundraising folks, and we're going to try to do a social media campaign with them. So if you have ideas on what would be great to put out about SLDS, about accessibility, about why folks might support our efforts on campus, we may be coming back your way to see if any B4A folks are interested in taking part in a photography campaign, because when we go to post something, we often don't have genuine representation, and we don't like to, use folks that we don't know if they identify as a disability or not. And we also want to honor privacy and self-determination on that. So if there are folks that would be willing to be a part of a photo campaign, we are hoping to be able to get one of those done, so we have real images of folks that are loud and proud that want to be represented. And then we also are hoping to be able to identify some different levels of what it might cost to do different types of services and accommodations, so that people might be willing to make some gifts to Ohio State. So that's pretty exciting. Anything you all have about that you think would be good for us to think about in terms of trying to reach out to the larger network around Ohio State? Because what we can't do is email a list of former alumni that were registered with our office, right? That would be kind of a breach of privacy. So we will reach out to former staff and former award winners and things like that. But if you have other ideas on how to reach the people that might be excited to support our efforts, I'd love to hear your ideas. I'll highlight a couple other teams that are in our office for people that may not know. So you work with your access specialist quite a bit. If you have exam accommodations, you might be familiar with coming into our exam space. Another exciting development that we have this year is that there's our office actually is built into an old dining hall that was between the two Baker residence halls. And upstairs was a big dining hall space that hasn't been really used for much of anything because it needed renovation. It actually belongs to the housing office. And they have renovated it over the summer. And they're putting the finishing touches, and they still have to fix up the elevator, but they've installed bathrooms up there and put in some nice carpet and lighting and some furniture. And HRE, Housing Residence Education, is going to let us borrow that for some overflow testing. which will be really exciting because we were overflow testing into Park Stradley a little bit last year. And so we're super excited to be able to have some ability to expand some testing seats upstairs when our demand gets really high. So again, we'll have to wait for the elevator to be fixed before we can fully utilize it for everyone, but we will hope to test pilot it with some testers here, hopefully in the next few weeks, as soon as we get the green light. So that is also really exciting. We also have our other teams in our office. We have our interpreter and transcriber team. We were able to add an interpreter transcriber to the full-time person to the team last year to build out that team as well. And we also have our amazing Brailleist Lisa on staff, who is also a transcriber. So she's rocking it out. We also hire students not only in front desk and exam staff, but in media. We have a lot of students that convert media and do captioning of videos. And we also hire students with science class experience to go be lab assistants in chem labs and such, to assist folks with mobility concerns and to be able to move beakers around and things like that. Not only for folks that need that all the time, but for folks with unfortunate, like I broke my arm on a scooter type of accident. So that's the other type of individual need that we meet, is a lot of temporary disabilities as well. And then the other thing that we spend a lot of time doing is managing flex plans. And so that's also sometimes called attendance and deadline modification, as well as working with our peer note takers. So those are a bunch of different buckets that we kind of run with our 23 or so staff members and a lot more student staff. And so we put our student jobs on our website anytime we have a posting. But if you're ever interested or have friends that are interested in working in SLDS, definitely let us know so we can let people know the next time we have any openings. Any questions about any of those areas, functions, accommodations, or concerns that you've heard, or questions that you have about any of that?
We will have 1 minute or so left of this section. So yeah, anyone get your questions in. Will you have to leave now, or could you possibly maybe answer questions in the chat if anyone has any other questions?
Sure, I'm happy to hang out and answer any extra questions that might show up in the chat. I'll also put my email address in the chat if people want to send me a note afterwards as well.
Just had a brief comment that I got an introduction from my new access specialist, and we actually have a lot of research interests in common. And so we were chatting about that for a little bit, and that was kind of nice. Because I think it was a little bit, I think some folks are a little bit nervous about having a new access specialist and trying to navigate that. So it was really cool to get that introduction and see that we actually have a lot in common. That was really cool.
Very cool. Yeah, we hired our last set of access specialists are a very diverse group with their own disability identities, their own really cool advocacy work backgrounds. I mean, there are some really amazing folks that have joined the team, different age levels, different experience and educational backgrounds. So if you haven't, go onto the About Us and check out. A lot of my staff will choose to put their pictures on our website. And, a lot of people will choose virtual meetings, but the staff really enjoy when people come in and have their meetings in person. It just makes their day brighter. So if you have that opportunity and that ability and, you're on South Campus, like definitely take advantage of that opportunity as well.
I had one question. Do you know what, either through metrics on like what people put when they're filling out the job application or based on like people openly identifying, do you know what percentage of the SLDS staff are individuals who have a disability or who identify as disabled?
In terms of the full-time staff?
Sure.
Great
Whichever.
question. So human resources doesn't let us know that information during hire, which is good, right? Because we they're trying to prevent discrimination. However, a lot of individuals will divulge in their cover letters or in their interviews, that they have chronic conditions, that they identify as being autistic, that they have ADHD, right? So there are a lot of individuals on our staff that identify as having disability, of having a variety of different gender identities, really kind of runs the gamut. And I would say the same with the student staff. And I think a lot of students who also are affiliated with our office tend to apply to work in our office. And so folks are very sensitive and tuned in, right, because of their experiences, and make really great student staff employees as well. But in terms of actual numbers, that's not something they'll share with us.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions in the chat?
I don't think so,
No,
but I'm happy to
Not
wrap it
at
up.
this time.
All right,
Yeah.
so then in that case, I'm going to hand this off to our first student organization representative. First student organization representative. Do you pronounce your organization Tapped into STEM?
Yep.
All right, fantastic. Well, welcoming Tapped into STEM at OSU. You have the floor.
Hi, so my name is Abigail Richardson. I am a white female 23-year-old and I'm wearing a pink shirt. And I'm the current president. Sorry. I'm the current president of Tapped into STEM. And so Tapped into STEM is an organization. We just became a club last year. And so we're just working on kind of creating like an alliance of students with disabilities and kind of trying to create a club and like a mentorship program for them to be able to have networking opportunities in like STEM fields. Okay, next slide. And so Tapped into STEM is a project that is funded by the National Science Foundation Eddie Bernice Johnson Includes project. And it's also funded by the CHIPS and Science Act of 2022 to advance diversity in STEM with people with disabilities. And it's working on a mentorship model that pairs students who have disabilities with just like various professionals in the community who either are working to make more accessible positions or they themselves might also have disabilities, if that makes sense. But yeah, next slide, please. And so right now we have a bunch of hubs. And so we are the Northeast hub. There is the Island hub, which is in Hawaii. There's the West Coast hub, which is in Washington. The Mountain Hub is Northern Arizona University. The Midwest is University of Missouri in Kansas City, and the Southeast is led by Auburn University. And so we actually have a bunch of hubs just all over the United States, and we have a national Discord that I can also send you guys the link to if anyone is interested in joining. And it's a really good group because people talk about school, they talk about life, they give each other just like tips and check in with each other. And honestly, it's just a really nice group of people to like communicate with and connect with virtually across America. Okay. And so our objectives are to increase the quantity of students with disabilities who are completing STEM degrees and to facilitate the transition of students into the STEM graduate programs and workforce. And by doing this, we actually have a bunch of speakers that come in throughout the year, and we always have virtual and in-person options. And we've had speakers from like JP Morgan and Chase. That's the one off the top of my head that I can think of, but they're always very interesting speakers that like connect with all of us. And then we're just trying to enhance communication and collaboration among colleges, industry, government, national labs, and local communities to address education needs. Okay. And so our partners are the schools listed on this. So it's Gallaudet University, Landmark College, Purdue University, University of Connecticut, and the University of Cincinnati. But Ohio State leads the Northeast Hub. And we're trying to do what's called the bridge mentoring model. And so if you want to go to the next tab, I think I can kind of explain what that is. So the bridge model deconstructs traditional power imbalances and posits that mentorship may occur across relationships regardless of age or experience. For instance, a tenured faculty member may be mentored by a freshman student on inclusive teaching practices that met their needs, while the student receives mentorship from older students on which classes which support their career goals or transition to graduate school. And so we have right now like an S and a TEM group. So we have S for science and T for technology, engineering, and math. And so we try to pair up students for majors that correspond to those letters. And so, for example, I'm in the College of Nursing. I'm a nursing major, so I fall under the S program. But our past president, they were in, I think it was computer science engineering, so they fell under the TEM group. And so we're just trying to make like a big mentorship program and just help people connect with each other. Okay. And then this is just more kind of just description of how we split our mentorship model with faculty and staff and students, and then pairing up students from different grade levels or different like points in like their degrees. And so we do these cluster groups. And so we try to meet at least once a month, either virtually or in person, just to like kind of check in to see how we're doing with school and everything. And we also have the option to do peer-to-peer, where it's just like one-on-one to just kind of connect with others. And then we have weekly, I think it's either weekly or we do a monthly group club meeting. And we're figuring out what day of the month we're doing that for this semester. But yeah, Tapped into STEM is trying to build community by connecting students with similar interests and needs. We do host the monthly hybrid meetings with advisors to discuss topics related to academics. And we normally have snacks at the meetings, which is super fun. And then we also have a Ohio State Discord for Tapped into STEM, and I can also provide the link to join that Discord if anyone is interested. And then we use a Carmen course page, and it just has like postings. So it'll have just like surveys or just information on potential speakers that might come to speak with us in case anyone wants any additional information. And so our goal is to establish and sustain a student organization. So this will be our second year as a student organization at Ohio State, which is really exciting. We have one of our advisors is an access specialist with SLDS, and then we also have a co-advisor who works with the OSU Nisanger Center. And then we're trying to just grow our membership and solidify our organization structure because we want to be here to last and make a change and just bring people together. Oh, and we are also interested in recruiting STEM faculty and staff with or without lived disability experience to serve as co-advisors. So we're open to all. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. It's great to have you here. Next, we will have our representative from POTS Club. So, our POTS Club representative, you have the floor.
Hi everyone. Can you all hear me well? Just like a nod. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
I'm Kaylee. I'm a junior. I'm 20 years old. I'm a white female with brown hair. I'm the president of POTS Club, and I founded it last semester. So we're a pretty new organization. Next, please. So what is POTS, you might be asking if you are unfamiliar with it. POTS stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which like postural, like posture, like related to whether standing, sitting, laying. Orthostatics, which has to do with like kind of your blood pressure and like how your body relates to when you make those posture changes. Tachycardia is when your heart rate is above 100 beats per minute, and then syndrome is like a collection of, sorry, I couldn't figure the word, symptoms. POTS is a form of dysautonomia characterized by an increase in over 30 beats per minute in adults. It's 40 actually in people under the age of 18, and then upon a position change. Dysautonomia, if you're not familiar with that phrase, your autonomic nervous system is what controls all of your involuntary functions. So breathing, heart rate, sweating, stuff like that. So this pretty much means that your autonomic nervous system is in disarray, it's malfunctioning for some reason. And then also POTS is a disability. It can be extremely debilitating and it can leave people completely bedridden and immobilized. Next, please. So POTS presents itself in a wide variety of both symptoms and severity. Some people might only have mild symptoms. Some people, it can be extremely severe and debilitating where you can't even get up or stand up. Some common symptoms include heart palpitations, dizziness, lightheadedness, headaches, migraines, shaking, presyncope, brain fog, chest pain, shortness of breath, insomnia, and there's so many more, and it can present itself very differently from person to person. And then while having syncope is not a requirement of POTS, many people with POTS do experience syncope, which is passing out, and then pre-syncope is just when you feel like you're gonna have to pass out. And the next slide, please. Is there a cure? Also, I'm so sorry, I don't know why the font is different for this. I made it on Canva, and I don't think it transitioned over in PowerPoint, but that is supposed to be capitalized. Unfortunately, there is no cure with POTS. If you have POTS, which I do have POTS, you only are able to manage your symptoms through a variety of measures. And additionally, on top of that, medication does not cure POTS at all. It may alleviate symptoms for some people and help them to where they feel like they're cured, but it's not like a cure, and medication does not work for some people. And there's different types of medications. There's not just one medication they give for people with POTS. It's a wide variety and kind of a guessing game, it seems like. Next slide, please. A few ways to manage POTS: increase salt consumption, increase water, avoid heat, avoid standing for long periods of time, compression garments, sleeping on a pillow wedge or a raised bed, avoiding caffeine and alcohol, sleep, getting your 8 to 10 hours of sleep, eating small, frequent meals, and medication. And this is like in no way a comprehensive list. So there's all sorts of different ways to try to manage it, and what might work for one person might also not work for another person. Thank you. Next slide. What causes POTS? Also another guessing game. It is currently unknown. There's a lot of research going into it. Some people might think it might be genetic. Some people may think it's autoimmune, but there's not really any concrete evidence for one or the other. However, they do know that viral illnesses, especially like the flu or COVID, numbers of people that have POTS after COVID have gone up astronomically. Big hormonal changes such as pregnancy, infections, surgery, physical traumas, especially concussions, and then also other autoimmune conditions can trigger POTS or increase the likelihood. POTS can exist, and it's also pretty common to see it with other conditions and not just by itself. Next slide. So for this semester, we will be meeting Wednesday, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. in Lazenby, room 18. Our first meeting is tomorrow night from 6:30 to 7:30. And we also understand that a lot of people cannot make it for a variety of reasons in person. So we do have a Zoom link for people to join virtually, and we will send out slides every week in the group meet for people to see in case they miss either of them. And then overall, our main goal is to educate people. We are more than welcome to people with and without POTS. This is, like many things, something that needs awareness raised around it, about this condition, to share resources and experiences about POTS, connect with others, and then raise money for POTS research. And then I think, next slide this has our Zoom link, and its password, our Instagram, our email, and then our group name. And then I think this is the last slide. So yeah, thank you all for your time today and listening to me speak. Thank you.
All right, thank
you.
you very much. Our next presenters will be from the Autistic Students Union. You have the floor.
Hi, yeah, hello everybody. Thank you so much for attending this. I'm sorry, it's been quite a long day for me. Attending this event. My name is Anirudh Subramaniam. I am the founder and president of the Autistic Students Union. So yeah, the Autistics, give me just 1 second. Yeah, so the Autistic Students Union is a student organization on Ohio State's campus that is meant to uplift the autistic voices here at OSU. And one of the main mantras of our organization is for neurodivergent people by neurodivergent people. And this has been a driving force where we want to serve as neurodivergent self-advocates for the neurodivergent community at Ohio State. And also we also are, I'm really sorry. It is there's a lot of loud noises outside my apartment. It's something I can't control. I do apologize. Okay, so moving onwards. One of our other main goals as an organization is to create a space of peer support and compassion for OSU students who are on the autism spectrum and also who are neurodivergent. Next slide, please. So here is the staff. Here's who runs the show. We have our co-president Lucas. He's a junior and he is a biochemistry pre-med student. His minor is in disability studies and he enjoys playing Pokemon, chemistry, cars, computer hardware, and his favorite birds. And then we have our director of outreach, Alicia. Her major is in social work. She is interested in video games and writing. Then we have our second director of outreach, Ray, who is a senior, and the major that they are doing is theater, and her hobbies are painting, baking, and animal care. Then we have our co-treasurer Tori. She's a no, they are a senior here. They study industrial and systems engineering. Their hobbies are crochet, Legos, and watercolors. And then we have our other co-treasurer, Liam. And they they are a third year political science major whose hobbies include FNAF and politics. And finally, you have me. My name is Anirudh. Also, you might have heard me in multiple places go by the name Rudy. It's because some people can't pronounce Anirudh. So yeah, so basically I do apologize for not giving the alt text because we did not find a way to manage it in. But basically, to describe myself is I am a Indian man with short hair and round dark glasses. We will update an alt text for all of these slides and put them to the website as soon as possible. I sincerely apologize for the delay. Next slide, please. So we have two advisors, Karen Cranes Edison and Justin Wallace. Both of them are licensed social workers and part of the OSU Nysonja Center's ACE program, which is a program that helps neurodivergent students transition from high school to college. And we found that their advice and has been crucial for our success as a club. Next slide, please. So yeah, why you should join. Number one reason you should join is that you get to meet other neurodivergent folks. Our club has grown right now to a community of over 200 students at Ohio State. That is something we have not yet updated in our presentation. We also encourage our members to conduct research. For example, I work on 2 research projects as part of the Tapped into STEM. I meant I lead 2 research projects as part of the TAPDINTO-STEM program, and I closely work together with ASU when it comes to doing research. And also we have designed the club in a model that we have been able to present at multiple conferences, and also we are able to basically host in-person events that sort of bring about the neurodivergent community together. And also another reason why I should join is that we sort of have this support community where other neurodivergent students might have gone through the same things as you. And most of the time, if you like post a question on our advice help, you'll most likely receive a response, because there's so many students who have so many different backgrounds that you're yet to find someone that you will find someone that clicks in with your interests. Yeah, and also one of our main things is to encourage self-advocacy and also have peer support groups and events where we can be free as neurodivergent people. And I think that is pretty much it. I do apologize for this rushed presentation. If given the time, I would have had more to talk about the Autistic Students Union. But yeah, here we typically use Discord as our primary mode of communication. Our Instagram and Twitter are not that used that much at all, but we do host a lot of events. For example, yesterday was our first general body meeting, and this Friday we're going to have a Friday Connections event partnering with the OSU Nysonja Center, where we get to do activities in a safe space with other neurodivergent folks. And yeah, I think that's all I have to share. Please do let me know if you have any questions, and please do join our Discord server. I will put a link to that as soon as I can. And also I will make sure to update the alt text on the presentation as soon as possible after this is over. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you very much for presenting. We're very happy to have you. Next up is the Dysfunctional Movement Collective. So welcome, the floor is yours.
Hey everyone, my name is Zoe November, she, they. I'm a white person with long brown hair and speaking against a plain white background. I am the resident choreographer and artistic director for a new group called the Dysfunctional Movement Collective, which is a dance and disability group on campus celebrating intergenerational queerness, disability, advocacy, and bodily diversity. We started together in 2023, a group of experimental movers interested in dance and theater improvisation. And we welcome all abilities, levels, and experiences. So you don't need any prior experience if you're interested in joining. And we offer community dance training. A lot of dance and theater training programs are not accessible to everyone. So we provide that resource for people, as well as weekly creative rehearsals, collaborative, generative making process, and optional performance opportunities. And we have a lot of fun. Practices are really playful and quirky and silly, and we always offer a place to rest and rant and just be in community with each other. Our name, Dysfunctional Movement Collective, refers to society's perception of disability right now, defined as interfering with daily function or the ability to function independently. And through our performance activism, we ask who gets to decide what movements are considered functional or dysfunctional. What's functional for one person might not be for someone else. And through our artistic work, we insist upon our own diverse ways of functioning in this world. Next slide, please. So you're probably wondering, what kind of dance do we do? Here's a slide with 4 different pictures on it, representing different dance companies that inspire our work. So on the upper left, there's Stopgap Dance Company, a UK-based company, and the picture shows 6 dancers paired together with various physical and intellectual disabilities. They're kind of lifting each other in a West Coast swing style dance. Then there's a picture of Access Dance Company, which is the most widely known interability or mixed ability modern dance company in the US. They're based out of California. And here we see 5 dancers. Some of them typically use standard mobility aids, but here they're all lying or sitting on really fun, colorful skateboards and holding each other up for support in that way. There's also a picture of Kandoko Dance Company, which shows a duet between an able-bodied dancer and a dancer using a crutch and balancing on one crutch and both legs up in the air, and someone else looking on from below. And then also a picture of Kinetic Light Dance Company, which is run by Alice Shepard, the woman in purple leggings and a wheelchair, and they're pursuing aerial dance with their wheelchairs, flying in the air with their hands connected to a person kneeling on the ground. Next slide, please. I forgot to say earlier, I'm an MFA student getting my master's degree in dance and studying dance and disability, and specifically accessible text as part of visual design in live performance. So my research is really driven by how dance can be improved and generated when we integrate digital text as a live performance partner. So these are some of the artists that I'm inspired. Here we have a GIF on the left-hand side of white text against a black curtain that says, "Carve me into a statue of words." And the text is repeated and spiraling upwards in a multiplied motion. And then there's a picture of the famous American choreographer Bill T. Jones. And this is a GIF with the words reading, "I think the way I move." And as Bill T. Jones curves his arm in a large sweeping gesture, those letters follow his hand as if they were written on a ribbon. Next slide, please. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, perfect. So just to keep it short, because we're at the end of a long day, I just wanted to put some info up here on how you can get involved if you're interested in joining practice or rehearsal, or you just want to stop by and check it out sometimes. We're also looking for collaborators if you have a background in music or sound design or artistic visual graphic design, textile work, access specialist work, anything like that. We'd be interested in collaborating. Here's a QR code as well as a link. We could throw that link in the chat. Here's the link in the chat for our website. And then there's also on the website, there's a QR code that you can use to fill an interest form. The timing of our rehearsals right now is still a little bit flexible as we try to work out a schedule that works for everyone who's interested in joining. So currently we're going to be practicing Friday afternoons and or Sunday afternoons in Sullivan Hall, which is at 1813 North High Street on campus. So if you're interested in joining or getting involved, or you want to be on a mailing list for the future, please fill out that QR code and do that little interest form. And that's about all I have today. There's an image on the page which has the logo for our Dysfunctional Movement Collective, as well as a hand-drawn image showing some of the dancers in the group.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate you having you here. I'm going to come back to the slide after we have the wrap up. Code, would you like to present this slide? Then I will turn off the recording and have that poll as an option. You can stay into the poll, or you can go into breakout rooms and discuss further with the individual groups there.
Thank you. I wanted to sort of just acknowledge all of the contributors to this event. So thank you to SLDS for partnering with us, B4A, on this event. We'd like to thank Dr. Cheryl Lyons for advising us, being open to this project, and speaking to the students here today. Thank you to each of the student orgs and collectives for providing presentation slides and information about their orgs in advance, helping us create access for this event. So the Dysfunctional Movement Collective, ASU, Tapped into STEM, and POTS Club, thank you so much for being here today, and I'm so excited to learn more about what you guys have been doing. We're so grateful that you're here with us and helping disabled students find community at OSU. Thank you to the ADA Coordinator's Office and PRI for providing CART for the event. And thank you to B4A's event committee for working on this event and bringing each of these orgs together for what's a wonderful display of disability solidarity. Thank you to the B4A officers for creating promotional material for the event, emailing potential organizations, and keeping us all on track. Specifically, Saran and Ella have been helping so much with getting all of this together and actually keeping everything organized. We want to do a larger event like this in person in spring, so we're trying to get that together right now. And this was kind of just this introductory for new students that are joining OSU and trying to figure out, find community here on campus with other disabled students or allies. So thank you again.
And
And
thank you
thank
very
you,
much to
Code.
Code as well. Oh, we went in at the same time. Thank you very much to Code as well. All right, with that, I'm going to end the recording. Stop recording. Bye, everyone who's watching the recording. Thank you for watching.